The moment Meghan Markle re-wore Princess Diana's iconic tiara, Prince William did something so unexpected that the entire ballroom fell silent. But the reason behind his action was even more shocking. Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, stood beneath hundreds of flashing cameras, wearing the diamonds once treasured by Diana, the late Princess of Wales, and William's beloved mother. She appeared confident, but William, Diana's eldest son and the future king, stared at one tiny mark beneath the center stone and suddenly turned pale. He abandoned royal protocol, walked directly towards Meghan, and ordered the ceremony stopped before she could reach the stage. Then he received a whispered message that changed everything. The tiara Meghan was wearing was supposed to be locked inside the Spencer family vault. So who secretly placed Diana's iconic tiara in Meghan Markle's hands? Why had she worn it before? And what did William do next that shocked Meghan, terrified the palace, and exposed a secret someone had desperately tried to bury? The first camera flash struck at exactly 8:17 p.m. Meghan Markle had barely stepped onto the ivory carpet of the Diana Children's Hope Gala in New York, when the entire entrance fell silent. Reporters lowered their microphones. Guests stopped halfway through conversations. Even the musicians near the staircase lost their rhythm. Above Meghan's white silk gown glittered the unmistakable outline of Diana's iconic Spencer tiara. Within seconds, photographs were racing across the world. But what nobody outside Meghan's small team knew was that she had worn that tiara once before. In May 2018, 2 nights before her wedding, a palace dresser named Margaret Ellis had brought it to Meghan during a private jewelry consultation. Meghan had tried it on for less than 3 minutes, while a photographer recorded possible bridal looks. The tiara was later rejected because it belonged to the Spencer family and could not be included in an official royal ceremony without complicated permission. Before Margaret returned it to its case, she had whispered something Meghan never forgot. Diana said this one never made her feel like a princess. It made her feel brave. The private photograph was sealed in the royal archive. Meghan believed the moment had disappeared with it. Then, 6 weeks before the New York Gala, Eleanor Whitmore, director of the Diana Legacy exhibition, contacted Meghan's office. Eleanor claimed the Spencer family had approved a one-night loan of the tiara to support a children's mental health program. She provided insurance certificates, security documents, and a letter carrying what appeared to be Charles Spencer's signature. Meghan hesitated for days. She knew wearing Diana's jewelry would ignite criticism, yet the gala's organizers argued that the image could draw worldwide attention and rescue 3 struggling treatment centers from closure. Finally, Meghan agreed, but only after her lawyer confirmed the paperwork. Now, standing beneath hundreds of flashing lights, she touched the cold diamonds and remembered Margaret's words. Across the Atlantic, Prince William was leaving a private conservation dinner at Kensington Palace when his phone began vibrating. His aide, Daniel Mercer, held up the first photograph. William stopped walking. For several seconds, he said nothing. His eyes moved from the tiara's curved centerpiece to the row of tulip-shaped diamonds. Then he enlarged the photograph and stared at the clasp barely visible beneath Meghan's hair. "That cannot be Mother's tiara," Daniel said carefully. "The Spencer family would never release it without informing you." William's face had already changed. He was not angry. He looked frightened. 5 days earlier, Charles Spencer had personally shown him the original tiara secured inside Althorp's temperature-controlled vault. William had seen the inventory seal placed across its case. Yet the piece on Meghan's head was not an ordinary replica. Beneath its center diamond was a tiny dark mark shaped like a crescent, an imperfection Diana had once shown William when he was a boy. Only the genuine tiara carried it. William immediately called his uncle. Charles answered on the fourth ring. After hearing William's question, he ordered his security chief to inspect the vault. The line remained silent for nearly 2 minutes. When Charles finally returned, his voice was unsteady. "The case is still sealed," he said, "but the tiara inside is a copy." William looked again at Meghan's photograph. Someone had stolen the original, replaced it, and arranged for Meghan to wear it before the world. It was not a loan. It was a trap. "Stop the gala before she reaches the stage," William ordered. Daniel reached for his phone, but William caught his arm. "No accusations," he said. "If Meghan learns the truth publicly, whoever planned this wins." Then William made a second decision, one so unexpected that, before the night ended, it would leave Meghan speechless and force the palace to confront a secret it had buried for 8 years. On opposite sides of the Atlantic stood two people whose lives had been transformed by royal privilege, but deeply marked by personal loss. Meghan lived with Prince Harry and their children in a guarded California estate, surrounded by the wealth created through royal connections, media ventures, and international partnerships. Yet no security gate could protect her from the feeling that every decision she made would be judged as ambition. William occupied an even more powerful world. As Prince of Wales, he had access to historic residences, private estates, household staff, and the enormous resources attached to his royal position. But Diana's memory remained the one inheritance he could never treat as property. To him, the tiara was not merely a collection of expensive diamonds. It carried the image of his mother bending down to embrace him when palace photographers had finally gone. That emotional difference made Meghan's public appearance dangerously easy to misunderstand. At the gala, Eleanor Whitmore watched from behind a velvet curtain. She was an elegant woman in her late 50s, dressed in a dark couture gown and wearing an emerald brooch that had belonged to her grandmother. Her polished appearance concealed years spent moving among wealthy collectors, royal historians, and private auction houses. "Everything is proceeding as planned," she whispered into her telephone. A distorted voice answered, "Has she reached the stage?" "Not yet." "Then make certain she does." Eleanor ended the call just as Meghan's security advisor, Marcus Hale, approached. "Ms. Whitmore, we need to see the original loan agreement," Marcus said. "You already received it." "We received a scanned copy. I want the physical document." For the first time that evening, Eleanor's smile weakened. Meanwhile, William entered his private study and unlocked a drawer that only Daniel had ever seen him open. Inside lay a faded photograph of Diana wearing the Spencer tiara, and an unopened envelope bearing a warning in Diana's handwriting. "For William, if they ever use my jewels to divide my sons." William had possessed the envelope for 8 years, but he had never broken its seal. "Sir," Daniel said quietly, "what are you going to do?" William stared at his mother's handwriting, then reached for a silver letter opener. "I am going to find out whether tonight began with a stolen tiara," he replied, "or with something the palace has been hiding from all of us." The senior palace official standing behind William was Sir Adrian Vale, keeper of the royal archives. For more than 30 years, Adrian had moved through Britain's most protected rooms with unquestioned authority. He managed priceless letters, private photographs, and royal inventories unavailable to the public. His tailored suits, inherited country house, and membership in exclusive London clubs created the image of an honorable servant whose wealth came from family privilege. But Eleanor knew how carefully that image had been constructed. In 1996, when Eleanor was a junior jewelry conservator, Adrian had ordered her to make a detailed mold of the Spencer tiara's clasp. He claimed it was needed for restoration, but the request carried no official authorization. Frightened, Eleanor informed Diana. Diana stopped the mold from being completed and recorded Eleanor's name as a witness. Adrian was never publicly accused because exposing him would have created another royal scandal during Diana's already painful separation. Now William understood why his mother had preserved the truth. "Sir Adrian," William said, "did you authorize Eleanor Whitmore to access the royal archive?" Adrian did not blink. "Certainly not. This woman has deceived all of us." "That's a lie," Eleanor cried. "You gave me the photograph and the forged letter." Adrian smiled coldly. An accusation from a frightened woman caught beside stolen property. Security officers moved towards Eleanor, but Meghan stepped between them. "Wait," she said. She was trying to leave because she was afraid of someone in this room. "Let her speak." William looked at Meghan. Only minutes earlier, she had been positioned to receive the world's blame, yet she was protecting the woman who had helped place her there. "Tell us everything," William ordered. Eleanor's voice broke. "Adrian contacted me 6 months ago. He knew my exhibition was drowning in debt. I had mortgaged my home and sold nearly everything to keep it open. He promised enough money to save it if I arranged for Meghan to wear the tiara publicly." "Why Meghan?" Charles Spencer demanded. "Because people would believe she took it. Every newspaper would focus on her, instead of asking who changed the vault inventory." Meghan slowly lifted both hands towards the tiara, but William stopped her. "Not here," he said. "Removing it beneath these cameras would create the photograph they wanted." Then William did what no one expected. He turned towards the reporters and stepped in front of Meghan. "The Duchess of Sussex received this tiara through documents that appeared lawful," he announced. "She is not accused of stealing it. Responsibility lies with those who abused the trust of this family." The future king had publicly defended Meghan before the evidence could be twisted against her. Gasps moved through the ballroom. Even Meghan stared at him in disbelief. William then faced the security officers. "Detain Sir Adrian Vale." The color vanished from Adrian's face. "You cannot humiliate a senior servant of the crown on the word of that woman." "I'm acting on my mother's word," William replied, raising Diana's letter. As the officers approached, Adrian's polished calm collapsed. He shoved Daniel aside and lunged for the envelope. Charles caught his arm before he could reach it. During the struggle, the folded second page slipped from William's hand and landed near Eleanor's feet. She picked it up and froze. Written beneath Diana's warning was a bank reference number followed by 5 words. "The Windsor collection is not complete." Eleanor looked towards the ballroom's display cabinet. Inside stood 6 pieces of Diana's jewelry, scheduled for exhibition. One velvet stand was empty. "The tiara wasn't the only piece replaced," she whispered. Before anyone could respond, the ballroom lights went out. A woman screamed. Glass shattered. When the emergency lights returned, Adrian remained restrained, but Diana's letter and the empty velvet stand had disappeared. "Seal every exit," William ordered. The ballroom's luxury vanished beneath the cold emergency lights. Wealthy donors who had arrived in chauffeured cars now stood against the walls while security officers searched staff, corridors, and service rooms. Marcus examined the shattered display cabinet. The missing item was a sapphire brooch Diana had worn during one of her final charity visits. A thin line of blood marked the broken glass. "The person who took it cut their hand," he said. Security followed small drops of blood into the service corridor. There they found the gala's technical director, Oliver Crane, hiding inside a storage room. Diana's letter was beneath his jacket, while the sapphire brooch lay inside his equipment case. Oliver initially refused to speak, but Marcus found a message on his telephone instructing him to shut down the ballroom lights at precisely 9:05 p.m. The payment had come from a private company controlled by Adrian. With the letter recovered, its final paragraphs revealed the truth. Diana had discovered that Adrian was secretly producing replicas of historic jewelry. His plan was to replace selected pieces, sell the originals through private collectors, and manipulate the palace inventories so the substitutions would remain hidden. Diana called the evidence file the Windsor Collection. The bank reference number identified a secure deposit box containing photographs, hallmark records, and correspondence proving what Adrian had attempted. He had abandoned the operation after Diana confronted him, but he never forgot the evidence she had preserved. Years later, mounting debts behind Adrian's country estate and luxurious lifestyle pushed him to revive the scheme. 5 days after William inspected the genuine tiara at Althorpe, Adrian entered the vault using forged conservation papers. He replaced the tiara with a copy created from measurements retained since 1996, then resealed its case using duplicate archive seals. Eleanor had been ordered to place the original on Meghan. Public photographs would establish that Meghan possessed it, allowing Adrian to blame her after it disappeared. Oliver was supposed to steal the tiara and Diana's letter during the blackout, but William had stopped Meghan before she reached the stage. Adrian's plan had collapsed because William chose compassion before accusation. In a private room, Charles carefully removed the tiara from Meghan's head and secured it inside a guarded case. "I am deeply sorry," he told her. "Our family's property should never have been used against you." Meghan looked towards William. "You could have believed the worst of me." "For one moment, I nearly did," William admitted. "Then I read my mother's words." He handed Meghan the letter. Diana's final line read, "If my jewels ever divide this family, remember that forgiveness is the only inheritance worth protecting." Meghan's eyes filled with tears. Outside, reporters expected arrests, accusations, and another royal war. Instead, William returned to the ballroom with Meghan beside him. His decision shocked palace officials who had advised him to leave through a private exit and issue a carefully controlled statement later. William approached the microphone. "Tonight, someone attempted to turn my mother's memory into a weapon," he said. "They failed because truth must matter more than reputation, and family must matter more than pride." He then invited Meghan to deliver the speech she had prepared. Without the tiara, Meghan stood beneath Diana's portrait and spoke about children who suffered silently, while adults argued over power and appearances. William remained beside her. By the time she finished, donors had pledged enough money to keep all 3 treatment centers open for 5 years. Adrian and Oliver were taken away for questioning. Eleanor surrendered every document she possessed and agreed to testify. The missing jewelry was recovered, while the Windsor Collection initiated a complete independent audit of the royal archives. The following morning, the Spencer tiara returned to Althorpe under new security. Yet the image remembered around the world was not Meghan wearing Diana's iconic tiara. It was William standing between Meghan and the cameras, protecting the woman he had every reason to suspect. Meghan had reworn Diana's diamonds, but William had honored Diana's heart.